but a year and a day. Often the day, love without any year. Love is the goal, it's strength up to be dear.
That was my husband, late as usual, rushing out of the house at 8:30 like thousands of others. But today it's rather different. You see, he's not going to the office because he and I have been given a job to do together, and I'd like to tell you about it. But first of all, if you don't mind, I'm going to sit down. I'm an average housewife. This is the rest of my family, rather larger than we expected. Richard is a fairly average husband. He's away from home every day from 9 to 6, and that brings me to the point, because he and I are going off to see 3 other couples with very similar problems. The husbands and wives are apart from 9 to 6 every day, living in quite different sort of worlds. And he and I are going to try and find out what this separation actually means to family life.
Excuse me, but as usual, my wife hasn't quite got the point. It's true we're going to visit 3 married couples, but this film is about everybody. That is, everybody who's married. The average married couple spend more of their waking hours apart than they do together. I'm not talking about airline pilots or explorers, but ordinary 9 to 6ers like me. We spend nearly 5 months of every year apart, living separate lives in 2 totally different worlds. And that's what this investigation of ours is all about.
As I was saying when my husband interrupted, we're going to visit 3 couples. First, Mr. and Mrs. Clark in North London. Their day begins rather earlier than 9.
The day begins at 5:30. I get up in the morning, have a cup of tea, get myself ready, go into Frank, give him his cup of tea, and I tap him and I tell him I'm going. Then I walk to the cross, get my bus, and I get to work about 5 to 6.
The Clarks won't see each other again for 13 hours. She's gone off to her world of charring, and he is thinking about going to his world of lorry driving.
Well, where have we got today? I'll go down and pick a load of margarine up. From there, write my sheet down, and then come back to the depot.
In a top flat in Hampstead. Mr. Coppard, who has had a sleepless night because the youngest child is teething, is preparing for his day as a journalist. 8 o'clock, in a Tudor-type mansion at Gerrard's Cross. Mr. Gyle-Thompson, GT as he is known to his colleagues, contemplates the ramifications of big business.
Meanwhile, Frank Clark is already deep in the ramifications of delivering 2 tons of marge through the rush hour to Uxbridge.
Most husbands and wives are still at breakfast. Still together under one roof, but already going separate ways in their thoughts.
What's today? Friday. I must go shopping today. I'd better make a list. I always forget everything.
Oh, Lord, I've got to take my suit in for cleaning. Get it back before this conference next Wednesday.
Have rather a tight schedule to cover in the day. Must remember that the traffic is always very much thicker on Friday.
Shall I cancel that leg of pork this Saturday? No, I don't think I will, because Hugh always wants a large joint. Although, of course, he does complain then when it's too expensive.
Now is the hour when we must say goodbye.
It's funny how we've come to accept this daily routine, and we no longer find any strangeness in 2 people who have undertaken to live together till death do us part, parting for more than half of each waking day.
But after all, as the saying goes, men must work and women must weep.
I'm afraid my husband's a little bit out of date. Far from weeping, we can't help smiling a bit when we see our husbands trotting off to play with their toys. Let's face it, for all the fuss men make about being the breadwinners, going to work is rather like going to a club. No women admitted. Poor dears. They're so glad to leave behind the problems of our complicated domestic world. Of the qualities we most admire in our menfolk, and they admire most in themselves, where are they better displayed than in the sight of men on their way to work? About the wives these breadwinners have left behind them? What is happening in our world? Do we also welcome each day as an excitement and a challenge? Are we happy in our homework?
No.
Not at all.
No.
No.
There are certain things which are much harder than others, and I try and do one big thing each day.
You mean you turn out a room, or?
Well, I do all the vacuum cleaning one day, all the washing another day, all the ironing another day, and then that leaves me just with the daily chores to do as well.
I see. And are the children with you all the time?
Harriet goes in her pram, if I'm lucky, in the morning, and Tim, of course, sleeps for a little while.
And you find it really hard work, I mean, all this cleaning about and washing and everything?
Yes, I do, and carrying the children everywhere. And,
yes.
It is quite exhausting.
You might just see if we need any bread.
All right, I'll go and see to that now.
Thank you. I've just been doing the ordering and the menus for the day with Nanny.
This seems rather a large house. How many rooms are there?
There are 8 bedrooms with 3 bathrooms and 4 downstairs rooms.
And have you got a big staff to keep it clean and so on?
Not now, no. We used to have. Now just Nanny and myself, and with some daily help.
Mrs. Clark happens to be a daily help. She cleans other people's floors as well as her own. It has been calculated that strenuous housework uses up energy as fast as hewing coal.
Come off it. Labour-saving inventions have changed all that. As a husband who does his bit round the house, at weekends anyway, I can't help feeling wives make rather a drama out of the whole business. Perhaps because it's so damn dull. No wonder they enjoy change, going out shopping.
Enjoy a change? If you think doing this 5 mornings a week makes a change or anything to enjoy, you try finding something new for supper tonight. And wondering how to spread the housekeeping money over the weekend, with vegetables and everything the price they are.
Yes, yes, dear, but I'm afraid we have other things to concern ourselves with.
If I'm to finish the article by Monday, I shall have to phone up TSD today and get their pre-treatment procedure.
Well, actually, when I'm driving in the conditions of the road today, I mean, these vehicles that we have, you don't really get much chance to think of anything else. That is more or less our main point, is to get there and get the load either there safe or back to the yard safe.
Must remember to get the figures for the lunch meeting with Bauer. He'll want to know the anticipated draw-off of the materials we're discussing on the 6-month program for each factory.
Oh, really? Isn't that all interesting and impressive? And we women mustn't worry our pretty little heads about what it means. I suppose it must mean something for them to take it all so seriously. But when we think about this man's world, we can't help suspecting that there are a lot of overgrown schoolboys carrying on with their hobbies and getting paid for it into the bargain.
All right, that's us, overgrown schoolboys. But what about our better halves? Well, what's a man's eye view of, I hardly dare breathe the mystic word, shopping? Women don't enjoy shopping, of course, or so they say. It's strictly a business. But how do they graduate from being an amateur to a hard-bitten professional? To a mere male, it's completely baffling. So let's be content to admire their skill. Who but a woman would have such a keen eye for the state of the market? And then, of course, their logic. Who but a woman spends a shilling on bus fares in order to save a penny on a tin of baked beans? Who, indeed, but a woman? Her feet must be killing her. Well, I suppose I must admit sometimes shopping is exhausting. Whether the decision is between pâté à la maison or cod's head, sardines, or on a larger scale shark fins, the final choice is just as agonizing. And so is the problem of eking out the housekeeping money till next payday.
And look how hard the men are working in the middle of the day.
Although you reach full hardness at 400 degrees C, the hardness tends to drop off when you take it up higher than that. Yeah. And the brazing temperature is just over 900.
Where you go? I'll tomorrow street?
Yes, they'll be
going to lead my way. Find a way on it. Yeah, local lads. Our own football club, like, you know. Oh, yeah. We go every week. See us all around that area.
Well, cheers, boys.
Cheers.
Nice to see you, Don.
Nice to be here, Jim.
James, as Dom's come down all this way from the north, don't you think we could have a chat about the Liverpool plans and find out whether he's been able to get permissions and things and how soon we can go ahead?
Well, what I can never understand is why don't women ever sit down and eat a proper lunch? You would think we were stingy with the housekeeping money.
You want to know the real reason? Cooking a meal is something we like to do for somebody. There's just no fun in cooking for one. But of course, we do understand that the breadwinners have got to keep their strength up.
If I may butt in for a moment, I think it's only fair to point out not all husbands lunch off oysters and champagne. Not everyone's expense account will stand it.
Some people consider eating is a waste of good drinking time. And of course, some lunches go on indefinitely.
This has been very good of you to come down, and I think we've got everything squared up now. James is pretending he's got a lot of work to do this afternoon, so I suggest we
Well, I have
just
actually.
say hello and
but
see you next month.
See you again soon, anyway.
That's next week, yeah.
It's clear it's a man's world, but I don't think any woman who is a mother would entirely agree. It's true we make a lot of fuss about our children tying us down when they're little, but when they do go to school, it's we who miss them. Still, we're lucky. We share our children's lives. Our husbands nearly miss them altogether. And what are the breadwinners thinking about as they pack up till tomorrow?
No use getting home before she gets the kids to bed. Only be in the way. Mustn't forget to drop in at the pub. Can't disappoint old so-and-so. What's she got for supper? And what are the wives thinking about?
I always like to be home in time to change. He likes to see me looking at my best. If I hurry home, I shall be able to have a doze before I have to think about getting his supper. I like to get the children's bath over before he gets back.
Now is the other hour when we say hello instead of goodbye.
This is the moment we've all been waiting for. Husbands and wives are together again, under one roof.
Perhaps this daily separation isn't all a loss. If we were together all the time, we'd drive each other mad.
And how do we spend this precious part of our waking lives when we are allowed to be together? When we are married, why, what will you do? I'll be as sweet as I can be to you. I will be tender and I will be true when I am married, sweetheart, to you.
Sunday mornings, like it's my day, we'll go up Chapel Street for a blow and break, see what's going. It just makes a change, knowing that you've not been out the weekend. It makes a blow. So you've had a blow, that's all there is to it.
Well, here's one wife who makes the best of it. She believes the world is hers on Sunday, but it's still a separate world from her husband.
So we visited a club in Plumstead where husbands and wives do spend their leisure together, or so we've been told.
One ton. Oh, well done, Ethel.
Why do you think it's a good idea for the women to have their drinks in the bar over there and the men only in here?
Well, it's they enjoy their way of life, and we enjoy our way of life.
But you meet afterwards?
Yes, yes. We can go in there and buy them a drink.
We can go and sit with them in there, or we can go upstairs with them.
Oh, yes.
Upstairs in the dark.
And we have another hall at the back there.
Well, you see, this is a club that's got every facility for ladies to play in their own section and the members to be on their own, you see. And most clubs have women in the bar because they haven't got them facilities, you see. And they've got to have them to sort of, if the wife don't come, the husband won't come, you see. But in this club, we have every facility for the wife to where she wants the husband to go with her.
But you don't want her to play at this ball?
No, we don't want them in here because we don't want to sort of have saying, oh, I know what he does and I know what he doesn't do kind of thing, you know, that is a feeling.
Yes.
I think that's my feeling anyway, as a single man, you see.
For darts and drinking?
Oh, anything, you know, we just want to be on our own and your wife may be here, for instance, and I may treat her or treat her sister or something like that. But we may lose $1 on the tickets or afterward and we don't want them to know about it kind of thing, you see.
Meanwhile, I'd been wondering why the wives played darts downstairs instead of in the ladies' club room upstairs.
Well, we were in the way of the ladies' toilets, for one thing, and the children running in and out because of the darts getting in them. And also the women that were sitting around drinking, they didn't like it because we were making too much noise.
How many years have you been playing darts?
10 years.
Have you? All the time?
All the time, yes.
How did the club start?
Well, we used to sit in this ladies' room, drinking, and we were very lonely. The men were all in the bar, so we decided we'd form a ladies' dart team, and ever since it's been a great success.
Two separate worlds, two separate lives, and they seem separate even when men and women are together. To try to sum up, we went back where we'd started. Well, now, you're a very busy business executive. You spend a lot of time away from home. How much time do you spend away during the week?
Well, it's about a 70-hour week on a 5-day basis, but quite often I have to go over the 6th day, which causes a great deal of trouble, as I detest it. Takes away from my garden, breaks into my relaxation and so on, and I do it as rarely as possible.
Well, now, do you think that kind of separation is a good thing or a bad thing for marriage?
Well, it's worked very well in this case, because I think we've been married now about 20 years, but by many marriage standards that would only be the equivalent of about 5 years. And so I commend it most heartily. It has allowed my wife her own separate life on weekdays and life together at weekends.
Would you say your wife takes an interest in your work?
She takes an interest, certainly, in my job. I think largely because it is my job. The work as such, I don't think interests her particularly.
It's rather technical for me.
It's technical journalism. Yes. That's to say, I'm writing technical articles all day long on subjects which certainly don't interest her very much.
But you talk to her about the office life?
Yes, I talk to her about people at the office.
Yes. I've been to.
And she's been to the
office.
Yes, and she's interested in sort of office politics, if you like. But
they're always fascinating.
Yes, but
gossip.
Yes, gossip. But the work as such, I don't think. No, she's not interested in.
Finally, we called at the Clarks, and although it was Saturday, we found them all at home.
Did you find, Frank, that you went out more before you had television in the house?
Oh yes, we used to go across the road of a weekend and have a drink.
But you have now that you've got it here, you're at home more often.
Oh yes, yes, definitely. We're more homely, sit down more, come over the night time, like, you know.
More comfortable.
Well, more so the fire and that when you come over, been out in the cold all day long.
Yes. You'd say it's a good thing for husbands and wives. The television helps to make more home life together.
Oh yes, definitely. You see, we have more time together than evening time now.
Yes. We wives don't always get a chance to say much, but we think a lot.
I'm always washing, because Alan gets ever so dirty, and constantly washing to keep him clean. Always washing and ironing. But there it is. I like it. I get on with it. It's got to be done. So there it is. The mother's washing and ironing, washing and ironing.
It is funny how happy I am just sitting here, being domesticated, when I think of all the dreams I used to have when I was young. It's so different. But I suppose one's values and senses change as one gets older. Certainly when I was abroad, when I was nursing and meeting lots of people, I never imagined myself sitting by the hearth writing to children and thinking about my husband's dinner at the weekend.
I think being a mother is probably one of the loneliest jobs in the world, and I do very much miss the companionship of work, of office life. Sometimes I feel like putting my coat on and just catching the next train abroad and just leaving everything, but one doesn't.
On Monday it begins all over again. 2 lives, 2 separate worlds. How much apart can you be and still stay together?
Well, I shall remember the words of another husband we met.
Perhaps we don't have any interest together, but just being together is enough. We're happy to be like that, and even though we don't hold many conversations, because I can't honestly say we do talk much, we just get along together, like it. Just being in the same room with my wife is like a comfort to one another, and we can enjoy things together without speaking or talking to one another at all. Well, we've been married 10 years now, but I wouldn't swap my wife for anything in the world. I don't think she would swap me either.